Well, hi everybody, it's Sandy here with Bruce, my little buddy, with some masking tips and a little bit of a color study. And we're going to be using this cute monster set with Bruce in the middle of it from Simon Says Stamp and Copic Markers, and I'm going to show you a little about masking. Normally I tell you that I do this, I like to use this 2-inch masking tape, and I put each of the images on it and trim it out, and I put them in my packaging. Well, for this particular card, I wanted to do something different, and we don't need to do that kind of masking. So I have some easy ways to do some masking and using just a Post-it note. Who needs to use more than that if you can get away with a quick Post-it note, right? So first, I'm going to stamp Bruce, and he is going to be standing on a pile of mail, a giant pile of mail. And I wanted to wipe off one foot because that foot can be behind some of the envelopes and it'll look like he's part of the scene. He could be in front of it, but it's going to look more realistic. Well, realistic, a monster and a pile of mail. Okay, maybe not realistic, but it's going to look more like what I want it to if he's got an envelope in front of him. So since I wiped that off, I could put an envelope right there. Super easy. And now to build the pile of mail, to start it, I'm just going to stamp a bunch of one of the envelopes all over the place and let those kind of set the tone for the rest of it. And then I'm going to start filling in with one of the other envelopes and creating more of those and kind of tucking them in so that I'm snugging them up right next to some of these, and then I don't have to actually mask out too much until I get to a spot where I want to mask something out. Slow it down a little bit so you can see. Just going to stamp it, and it'll stamp half of it. I'm going to pull off the mask, take my Copic friendly multi-liner pen, and you can use whatever pen is friendly to the ink and coloring that you're going to be using, and fill it in. It's like a line, so we can all draw a line, right? And then on some of these others, I can just take a Post-it note, lay it across one of the envelopes, and stamp part of one of these in there. So I'm just going to try to fill in a bunch of spots with the 3 different envelopes. And by the way, I put them all on 3 blocks, and that way I can switch back and forth really easily if I need to without having to peel something off of a block and put it back on. Get my fingers all dirty with all that changing of stamps on my blocks. So then I wanted to put hearts in it, of course, because I'm making this a Valentine. I sent this out and actually did this video prior to the Operation Red Home Valentine's deadline, so this went out on time. But I wanted to put some hearts in the pile too, so I'm filling in the empty spots with the hearts. And this is the open heart. There's also a solid heart that will fill this in, but I'm going to use all the open ones here. And I'm only tucking in a few of them, and especially if you do this kind of a thing where you're tucking one thing behind the other on the edge of a pile like this, it's going to add a little bit more interest to the edge, so it's not just a whole bunch of lines. But you don't really need to do it on the interior very much if you do it on that edge nicely. And now on the interior, I'm just going to draw some lines and fill in some of those empty spots with a few more lines that will be just like the envelopes, but they aren't them, and I'm not going to bother masking all of that because that's a ridiculous amount of work for something like this. You're probably wondering if it's going to be a nightmare of coloring all of this, and I'm going to show you some easy tips to make this quicker, because this whole thing, including all the stamping and the masking and the coloring and everything, only took me like 40 minutes. So even though I've sped this video up so that it plays for you in much faster, I really did this quite quickly. So please don't be concerned that it's going to be taking far too long. So I'm starting by coloring the whole thing in pink, and I wanted it all to be a color. I didn't want to have any white spaces in that big pile of mail, because then it really emphasizes the white space behind Bruce. I'm coloring the shadows, the deepest shadows, with an RV99. This color looks almost brown in real life. I'm not sure what color you're getting by the time it's on video and on YouTube, but it's almost brown. It's a very desaturated color because it has a 9 for that first digit. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then go take the online card classes, Copics for Card Makers class, because I do a thorough explanation of what all the number system means and everything. So this is more saturated. This is an RV69, so it has a little higher saturation, and it's a little bit more purpley, more of a red-violet than unlike a brown like the RV99. So I'm adding just more shadows, more spots of dark color, and trying to spread them relatively evenly around the pile of mail, because I don't want giant spots of really dark or giant spots of really light. And just filling in, you know, kind of every other one sort of thing, and giving it some shadows. Next, I'm going for an RV29, and 2 of course makes it very saturated, so it's a much brighter color. And some of them I'm coloring just half of the envelope so that I can have some of these have dimension. And you can see I'm not worrying about dimension on a lot of them. Lots of them are going to be just solid color, so I'm not going to stress out about dimension and shading on every single one. But on a few of them, I've colored half of it with this color. Because if you fake people out and you have shading on just some of the image, they're going to, in their minds, they're going to see the whole thing as shaded. So when somebody looks at this whole thing, the shading on a few of those in the front is going to catch their eye, and they're going to think it's all been shaded. So you can always fool your audience if you can get their minds to think the way you want them to think. So I'm just going to fill in more with this RV25, this nice bright pink color, and then RV29. This one is much more red, which the way that the colors bounce from reds to purples sometimes boggles the mind. But I thought it would be kind of fun to do a card like this with all of these different colors and see how different they really can be. A lot of them seem very similar, but a lot of them also are incredibly different, which is very odd. So I went back to my darker purplish color so that I could add more of the shadows and a few spots that I missed that I wanted to make sure they were good and dark. And then I filled in the heart that he's holding. He's found in this giant pile of mail. Way to go, Bruce! So he's going to be a blue-green color. And this is another one of those funny things. This light blue-green is actually kind of more like a blue. You can use it interchangeably with a lot of the light blues, which is an odd thing. But there you have it, right? I'm going to add my shadows, and by the time I've added both of these colors, that little spot, if you noticed on his tail where I went over with the pink, it's all covered up now. Nobody can see that. So I added a little chin under him as well. Just gave him a little dimension under his lip. And then I'll blend out those colors. Leave him pretty simple there. Had a little goober, so I had to clean that up with my 0 marker. And I'm taking my BG11, which now all of a sudden a BG11 looks green next to those blues, right? But they're all blue-green colors. And now I'm using 2 of my reds to color in his tongue. So last step, sentiment. And there's all these crazy little monster sentiments in the set. And this one is, "You be mine." And I wanted to pull in a little bit of that blue-green color from down below into the sentiment. And I love that we can color in these words with whatever colors match the art that we're doing. And then the B and the question mark both got to be red. So here is my finished card. All I did was layer it on a little red card. Super simple, but you know, it just carries so much love with it. I hope somebody really enjoys sending this to their loved one for Valentine's Day. Alrighty, you guys, here are a couple more videos as promised, and I will see you next time. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I'll see you again next time. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.